So we've talked about the pharmacy, we've talked about neuromodulators and neurotransmitters, and to keep it simple, body chemicals. We've talked about epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin. We talked a little bit about sleep, and now I'm going to give you the biohacks. Now you're going to become the pharmacist. This is about how you engage in rituals and routines and really, really implementable, actionable biohacks that you can take home tonight, and you can start to change the way you live your world and the way that you control the release of the pharmacy. So you become the pharmacist. And what I've done is I've got this, I've nailed it to about 7, and every time we talk and every time I come and speak to you or you see me in person, or perhaps on some of my newsletters, you'll see that there'll be latest information. But this is right now, this is the latest information, the most relevant information, and I think these are really important pieces for us to know, because your kids can do it, you can do this, and this will change your world. So we're going to look at the board. My very first biohack is my light protocol. This actually falls out of work from Dr. Andrew Huberman from the Huberman Lab at Stanford. He's an ophthalmologist as well as a neuroscientist. Huberman Lab, go and watch his podcast, The Best in the World. And he talks about, and he taught me about, the upper neurons in the eye are the neurons that receive the angle of the light. So what that means is that in our homes, when we're walking around our house and it's 10 p.m. at night, the angle of our lights, the LEDs in our home, are shining down into the upper eye, which says to our subconscious brain, the sun is at what time's the sun at? It's between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. because of the angle of the light into the eye. So the protocol is pretty simple. As soon as we can, as soon as it's dark, if we can turn off all our overhead lights and go to wall lights and lamps, then the angle of the sun, the angle of the light, has set like the sun. So all of a sudden we're walking around the house and the body's going, I can see the angle of the light entering my eye as if the sun had set. Therefore, I'm going to start making melatonin. I'm going to start looking at bookending the day and moving us into the next transition of getting ready to bed because the sun is set. Makes so much sense, doesn't it? So in your home, it's really simple. And I don't know if you remember, but in the 1970s and 1980s, you used to be able to get these sort of always mustard-coloured velvet manky lamps, standard lamps with bubbles hanging off them. $20 down at the Salvation Army shop, go and buy yourself one. Put it in the corner of your lounge and get that on. In your children's room, get side lamps, get those overhead lights off. When you are walking down the hallway, get night lights down the hallway. Get rid of all your overhead lights. Put night lights in the bathroom at night time. You know, melatonin, it can take 1 to 2 hours to build up enough melatonin to stay asleep, to get to sleep and stay asleep. One light, turning on one bright LED light in less than 0.03 of a second will wipe out all of that melatonin. So if you think of our boarding schools, if you think of our police colleges, our military colleges, you think of all of the residential housing that we have, university, halls of residence, they have these beautiful dark little rooms. They're all in private rooms now because you're not allowed to put 24 people in bunk beds together, but they've all got their private room. They need to go to the bathroom. They walk out into the hallway and the lights beam on bright, overhead, fluorescent bulbs, bright as anything. And those children or those teenagers or those youth or those trainee soldiers or trainee policemen or elite athletes staying in residential environments, in hotels, travelling the world, go back to their bed and they can't get back to sleep because their melatonin has completely gone. So what do? You lean over and you pick up your cell phone and you start the dopamine addiction again. So the light protocol is really simple. Dr. Huberman talks about having absolutely no access to light, to the upper eye between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. would be his key times. So get up at 4:30 and do your study, and as soon as you get up in the morning, bright white light. So the opposite of this end of day is as soon as you get up in the morning, turn on every light. If you're in a country where it's pitch black, recently we were down, or last year we were down in Antarctica and it was pretty black overnight. We weren't in the bright whites phase. And so you just have to get bright lights on. Very best is to get 15 to 30 minutes of direct sunshine into the back of the eye, into the retina. So go outside, stand outside, Through a window's okay, but the glass is actually stopping the diffraction. So it was better to get outside, take your coffee, go and stand outside. And even dull light is better than bright light. Now on dull light, that's really interesting because people say to me, oh, I've got dimmer switches on my overhead lights. Brain doesn't care if it's a dimmer switch or not, it's just a dull day. The angle of the light is the same. So if we can go from overhead lights to the bright white LED and get those turned off and go to side soft lamps, so we're going to sunset colours for the afternoon and for the early evening, you'll find a massive difference. So that's the first biohack. Think about how you in your home could implement that. It's pretty easy and it's incredibly, it is like witchcraft. Kids just drop like flies on the floor. I don't like them very much, but I like them even better when they're really quiet. So if you've got children that don't want to go to bed, try this. I can guarantee you, you'll get marvellous results. So that's biohack number 1, that's my lighting. Biohack number 2 is the Last Supper. Now this is really interesting and it's really hard. I find it hard because I'm a little bit of a nibbler and I do like a glass of wine. So 2 things. One is the body temperature, the core body temperature has to drop 2 to 3 degrees to enter deep cycle sleep. So from your going to sleep, so your end of day body temperature, where it's at its highest about 6 p.m, it's got to drop to about 3 degrees. It's got to drop about 3 degrees for you to be able to enter that first phase of deep sleep, which we want to be occurring after 10 p.m. and before 12 a.m. So to do that, there's some really easy things to do. The first thing that keeps your metabolism really high and your body temperature up is metabolizing food. So eating late, drinking, alcohol is incredibly detrimental to sleep, like incredibly, probably the most detrimental thing. Why? Because alcohol is a poison to the body. And I like alcohol. Like, you're not an ex-military officer and not be a bloody good drinker. I'm a great drinker, but I understand the detriment to my body, particularly as I'm getting older. So everyone should just drink at lunchtime. No, apparently not. But we need to make sure we've got 3 to 4 hours post alcohol to be able to go into our deep cycle sleep. So that's a glass of wine with dinner, a 6:30, 7 o'clock at the latest, heading into that 3 to 4 hours into sleep phase. So that would be the first thing. Eat early and then no food before. And people say, oh, but I need a protein upgrade, I need this. Talk to your naturopath, talk to your coaches, if you're an elite athlete, talk to the people around you if you absolutely have to have that protein intake at that time of night, because it will keep your metabolism up. But for you and I that are the average Joe blogs or slightly special in our own mind, last meal 7ish, last alcohol 7ish, we're not going for 7 nights a week, right? We're going for, let's go 4 nights a week. Let's start with 3 nights a week. Let's not get off that couch with that dopamine addiction at 8:30 and go and get some more Tim Tams with a cup of tea at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Let's not be doing that. So that is really detrimental. So that's the first thing, is the Last Supper. We make sure that we eat early, we drink early, lunchtime, if not at all, and we're aware of the fact that metabolism has to drop. So that's biohack number 2. Biohack number 3, rituals and routines. One of the things that's really important for the psychological brain, not the neurobiological brain, but the psychological brain, is a sense of safety. And you're hearing about it all the time. It's on all the articles on LinkedIn, it's all the blogs, there's psychological safety in the workplace. More importantly, it's actually rituals and routines in the home life that keep your children psychologically safe. So I'm not sure how many of you remember the olden days, but we had babies and we would feed them early, 4:30, 5 o'clock. We'd bath them, be all warm and cuddly, take them to the bedroom, we'd read them a story, we'd put them into a bedroom with a low light, not pitch black, low light, night light, and then one of those hypnotic mobiles over their head so they could watch it go round and round and hypnotise them. And they basically went to bed every night like that, the same rituals and routines every single night. It only got buggered up when we went out to dinner at someone's place, or we let them stay up too late, or they were on, or whatever it was. We changed the rituals and routines. So for us, it's really important that we have a very ritualistic end of day. Now, to give you an example, as I run a journal, and we're going to have some photos of that in this as well, is that I sit down at about 9 o'clock. So I have a little soft alarm that comes up on my phone and it reminds me that that's the start of my 9 p.m. is the start of my 10:30 bedtime. So I'm a 10:30 on the dot bedtime person. And so at 9 o'clock, it's TV off. Doesn't matter what we're watching, it's TV off. My phone is off at 9:30. I do a last run, just in case I'm really important in my own mind, for my staff or my business manager or a client to contact me. I do a last run, but it's not a social media run. It's not a check LinkedIn, it's not a checked Facebook or TikTok or Insta. It's purely to check my messenger or my emails to see if anything's coming overnight that's going to change my speaking tomorrow or a company I'm working with. So the purpose of giving me psychological safety to say I've got tomorrow nailed and I'm in control. So it's a really short 3 to 4 minute max. If you look at the data on my iPhone, probably 11 to 15 minutes max a day of Facebook, and I'll be using that to communicate with my friends. My team will be uploading some social media for me and I'll be checking on that, and I'll be talking to my daughter in Canada. So that's how I use that piece. So those rituals, so I will do some meditation, I will journal. Now, people are a little bit worried with journaling. What do I write about? Journaling is a really interesting tool, and a couple of years ago I did a executive leadership course out of Oxford, a women's leadership course, and we had to show our diary and we had to commit, part of our written contract was we committed to journaling every night because of the power for an executive to download information and plant it and put it on the paper, and to be really clear about what worked for us and what we'd do more of. Not what didn't work for us and we're never going to do again, but really, so what worked for us. So for me in my journal, I only have 3 things, and it's very, very simple. Who did I serve today? What am I grateful for? And what will I do more of? So what worked for me and what would I repeat? And they're the only 3 things. Sometimes I'll write a page, otherwise I'll just do a little mind map like you've seen on the board in the other videos. Sometimes it's just a few words. It doesn't have to be a much, but it's enough. It doesn't have to be much. What it does need to be is enough to load it down out of the brain and put a bookend, further bookend that day. I also, at the back of my journal, I have 11 things that I tick off for the day. I know, slightly anal, daughter of an engineer, but they're really important for me. And they are, I tick, because I'm increasing my serotonin, right? I want to show myself that I'm a clever soldier. Look what I've done. I've completed all these things. And ticks are the best way of doing that before I go to bed for sex. So serotonin, melding with the melatonin. And what I do is I check that I have done my exercise for the day. I check that I've hydrated for the day, that I check my nutrition, supplements, because I travel a lot, I'm working a lot. Those stresses are coming in with different companies that I'm running my team at the outdoor centre. So I look after that side of things and I tick them all off. I tick off journaling. I know I've done it. I tick it off. Right down to, this is how silly it would seem to you, but to me it's really important. I tick off that I've cleaned my face and I've brushed my teeth. Why you say everyone brushes their teeth? Not everybody brushes their teeth. And I'm one of those heathen people. When I get tired, I will not take my mascara off and I won't clean my teeth. And I'll wake up in the morning and I'll look like a panda and I'll have a mouth like a bear shed in it. And it's a really unhealthy way to start the day, right? And what it is an indication that my mental well-being, my overwhelm is increasing and I haven't been looking after myself. When I open my diary and I follow my data that I've ticked off, you will see 3 or 4 days that I haven't ticked off my hydration, I haven't been exercising, I haven't done things. So as it starts to decrease, I will see a direct relationship between how I'm feeling and my sleep. So the more we can come back to this and hold fast on this, and I literally try and do this 5 of 7 nights. Some nights, weeks I might nail 6, but generally 5 of 7 nights will hold me fast and look after my well-being and mean I've got enough energy. So rituals and routines, clean the bench, get the lunches made, get the kids with rituals and routines. If you have bedtime stories with the children, amazing. But it's not what my preference would be. My recommendation would be is that you have a couple of beanbags beside the bed and you read beside the bed with your daughter or your son or your child, and you're sitting there and you read beside the bed, so that when the story's completed, they then transit to bed for the purpose of sleep. Because when I transit to bed and I know I'm going to read a book, people say, no, I read in bed all the time. Well, you've spent an hour and a half meditating, building up all your melatonin, doing everything right, and you close your journal and you're like, oh, amazing, all this melatonin, and I walk down my corridor and I'm going towards my bed, and that melatonin has gone like that. Why? Because the body goes, I'm going to read that book. I fucking love that book. I'm going to read that book. And so your dopamine level goes up again. And you go to bed with this subconscious excitement about picking up that book that you love reading. So remember, the bed's for two things. It's for sleeping and sex. That's it. And so we read in a chair beside the bed. We read in the lounge, but we don't read in bed. We don't have phones in bed. We need to be really, really strong with these rituals. So one of your pieces of homework is to think about how your family and yourself can make your day as ritualistic as possible. Have a checklist in the back of your diary that you're running through that, and figure out how you're going to journal. Highly recommended. And I think that will help you with getting those levels of melatonin up to the right levels so we're ready for bed. Biohack number 4. We're looking now at same time down, same time up. What does that mean? So let's talk a little bit about circadian rhythms. The human brain is incredibly primal, and this is some of the studies and learning that's come out, some of the top universities, and Dr. Gina Poe particularly talks about this. Huberman's got a lot of stuff. There's stuff out of Berkeley as well. Really, really, really big stuff on the fact that you can put people into a black room with no light, and they have access to their own light, but they've got no idea of the time. And over a 3-week period, those subjects, individually housed, will end up with a circadian bedtime rhythm of about 10 p.m. to about 6:30 a.m. So even if you have no light, you have no idea of what time of the day is, the body's circadian rhythm is so ingrained and so deep. When you move from country to country and time zone to time zone, it's about 3 days, about 72 hours for you to land in that country, hop up at their time, their 6:30 in the morning, and get back into rhythms and routines till your body is reset. So what they're saying to us, if we go to bed at about the same time, give or take 30 minutes every single night, and we get up every morning, not just Monday to Friday, but every morning, we'll talk more about this, every morning, we will end up with a much stronger homeostatic state, a much stronger rhythm and rituals, and the body will know what to do, because remember, it's producing chemicals and acids and things in our tummies, and biomes are working, and they're waiting for food at set times. If we muck around with that, then our body starts to reset. So to give you a little example, Monday to Friday, every day of the week, working week, you get up at 6:30. And the body knows, the stomach knows that at 7 o'clock it's getting its first cup of coffee, right? So it's set itself up. It's getting ready, it's priming itself. Norepinephrine's are at good level, digestion's ramped up, it's ready to metabolize, it's waiting for our coffee to come, waiting for breakfast if you're a breakfast person. Come Saturday morning, you decide to sleep into 8 o'clock. So at 6:30, the cortisol's been released. Remember, between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. there's that first primal release of cortisol to get us up. Now the body's going, right, it's time to get up. And now I'm going to get all my tummy ready for that coffee at 7 o'clock. Doesn't come. It's like, and so now all of a sudden it's dispersed, it's watered down, the system's a bit confused, and then you feed it at 9 or 9:30 and it goes, for goodness sake. Luckily, you do the same thing on Sunday. And so by Sunday afternoon, the body's going, I've got this. I'm resetting my circadian rhythm. I now know that we dine, we have breakfast now at about 9 a.m. So Monday morning, you wake up at 6:30 and put coffee in its gut. At 7 a.m. it goes, what the frick is going on? Because I've just spent 2 days rejigging my circadian rhythm, and now you've buggered up Monday morning, which is why Mondays suck. And we're so tired on Mondays because the body has spent the whole weekend resetting our circadian rhythm to meet our new deadlines, and we also often have more food and alcohol on the weekends. No judgment in that. And Mondays are terrible for us, which is where the song came from, about Mondays sucking. And so we are much better off to get up on Saturday morning at 6:30 and have that coffee, and then go back to bed and doze and relax, and even read our book in bed on Sunday morning. Just relax. But we're much better to get up at that same time every single morning, so that the gut and the body, because every single one of our organs has its own internal clock. So the liver's waiting to work, the kidneys are waiting to work, they've all got their own clock, and they're all resetting on Saturday and Sunday when you bugger them up. right? So that's why it's same time down, same time up is my biohack. Get that as nailed as you can. 5 of 7 days, 6 of 7 days, 7 of 7. It's not hard. Get up, have coffee, go back to bed. Really easy on the weekends, but the more rhythmical you can be, the better your well-being will be. So that's the biohack. The next one is biohack number 5, which is hot water. Hot water, and this is sauna. So saunas, spa pools, hot showers, pre-bed. Why pre-bed? Because we need to drop our body temperature by 3 degrees. So here's something that's really interesting. A hot shower, a hot sauna, a hot spa drops our body temperature, our core body temperature really quickly. Why do you think that happens? We're using hot water, surely it would be heating us up. What happens to the surface of your skin, your capillaries, when you're hot? All of your surface capillaries open and all those blood vessels come to the surface of the body. So you've got this whole massive body surface dispersing heat. It's trying to cool you down. And what it does, it pulls the heat from the core and disperses it rapidly. So a hot shower before bed is a really great biohack for getting a good night's sleep. Not the other way around. Cold water immersion, absolute gold in the morning. Cold water immersion, 100% in the morning. Smacks up that epinephrine. Any of you that cold water shower have jumped in a cold river? Anyone cold water shower? Yeah, I know. That bum puck, do you know that? Where you get that little bit of a clench? That is epinephrine, man. That is just adrenaline. Then what happens is that releases, just releasing, watching your bum release really quietly. Just you release, right? The epinephrine drops really quickly. And then what happens is, because remember we said that L-DOPA, dopamine and epinephrine are from L-DOPA. So they always work together. So epinephrine goes high. What happens is when the epinephrine, the adrenaline comes down, dopamine has this 3 to 4 hour tail. It's a mood enhancer. So ice baths, cold water showers are used for people with clinical depression and anxiety. Absolute gold tools. Start your days in the morning with cold water immersion or a cold water shower, and you'll get a 3 to 4 hour really, really healthy dopamine rise through to lunchtime, which will just keep this mood enhancer going. It'll change your world, but not at the end of the day. Why not before bed? Because we don't want high levels of the bum clench. We don't want high levels of epinephrine at the end of the day, and we don't want high levels of dopamine. One other thing for elite athletes, or if you're doing any growth work, muscle training, is don't use cold water after weight training where you are trying to increase muscle mass. Why? Because when we're trying to increase muscle mass, we need mass circulation so that the repairs, the tears, can heal. And we need really, really light surface circulation for that. Our blood circulation needs to be really stimulated, whereas cold water stops that, decreases it, and sends all that blood to the core. So if you're doing big weight training for the purpose of muscle growth, use your cold water 3 to 4 hours afterwards, after some of that cellular repair has happened. Also know that the phase 2, midnight through to the morning, any deep sleep that occurs post midnight is where your cellular repair, so the deep slow wave sleep after midnight is where those cellular repairs, all the tears of your muscles are happening in deep sleep. So pre-midnight, we're getting our brainwashing, we're getting the cleansing, we're getting the encoding, we're getting all those things happening. Post-midnight, we're getting cellular repair. So that's why it's really, really important for athletes to get both. So that's our hot water. Use it as a tool to get into the bed as part of your end of night ritual. Fantastic. And then my last one is number 6, is to re-emphasize that 22:30, that 10:30 p.m., 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. to midnight. Absolutely nailing this for you. We need to be in bed by 10:30 p.m. to get that first cycle of sleep. I can't emphasize this enough. We have to allow the brain to do its cleaning, that deep synchrony, that brain synchrony, that bilge pump cleaning that occurs, and it only occurs this side of midnight. So if you go to bed at 11:30 p.m. and you hit deep sleep at 12, the brain will immediately go into the next phase of deep sleep, which is cellular repair. It will not wash your brain. So it doesn't happen the first hour and a half of sleep. It only happens in the circadian rhythm at that time of night. wherever you are in the world. So this is why people that work night shifts, this is why people that are on constant rosters are really, really suffering with their health. Depression, anxiety, or anxiousness, a state of overwhelm, is because their body, their brain is full of toxins because it hasn't had that deep window of cleansing pre-midnight. So some of these things are really simple. The first ones I would be doing, I would be making sure I get my lights turned off overheads and change my bulbs out to any side lamps and wall lights to really, really low wattage and really low soft colours, so sunset colours. First thing in the morning, bright and a star key, and to get you going as you possibly can. Then the second one is to make sure that we are eating early and dropping our alcohol syndrome. Now I use an Oura ring. I haven't got it on at the moment, I'm just recharging it, but the Oura ring's really interesting. It's got probably about a 40% more accuracy than some of the Fitbits and Whoops. Still only 70% accuracy on its final data of what it's telling us. What I like about the Oura ring is that when you look at your sleep data, it just doesn't give you your light, your deep, and your REM sleep. What it then does, it peels the onion back another layer, and it gives us body temperature. So I can see on my night sleep, so I've had great sleep, my respiration's low, and my body temperature is probably down by 1.5 to 2 degrees. I'm menopausal, it doesn't go down 3 degrees. But it can show deep sleep has a direct correlation to that low body temperature, that decrease in body temperature, and then also my heart rate variability, my HRV. So when the pulse does this, there's a gap in between the pulse. So the heart doesn't beat regularly all the time. It does beat all the time, luckily, most of the time. But it stops and it has these little moments. The longer the gap between the pulse, between the beat, is the heart rate variability. So overnight we're looking for a really low resting pulse, 55 to 60, and we're looking for a really high heart rate variability. So for my age, at just under 60, my heart rate variability should be 20 to 40. Generally, because I've got very strong cardiovascular system, and even though I'm a little round thing, I do a lot of alpine work and a lot of mountain running, and so like a snowball. So my heart rate variability on average is around about that 57 through to 65, and it will peak at 120, which is ridiculously high. It's fantastic. 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Now, if I have 2 glasses of wine, my heart rate variability will be going from ridiculously, fantastically healthy and high at 57, say on average, and it will drop between 12 and 18, which is like nearly dead. So seriously, I can see a direct correlation in my shitty sleep and then my poor well-being just from 2 glasses of wine that I've had late at night. Now, it doesn't mean I don't drink. As I said to you before, I'm a great drinker. What it means, I'm just aware of it, and I don't do it all the time. And it's certainly the Oura ring. If you want to have data, if you've got a mind that needs data to back up your behaviours and really reflect on these biohacks, the Oura ring is a great OURA is a great source of really good, accurate information. A young man that I am working with and doing some mentoring with out of Berkeley, he's a PhD student out of Berkeley, and we're speaking once a month. He's implemented some of these things. Really interesting. You know, his mentor is one of the top neuroscientists in the world. Yet he's getting information from me, these biohacks from me, which is changing his health data. So he's walking around in his flat in San Francisco with a peaked hat on and sunglasses at night because the flat he rents has got these bright white lights and he can't change that. So he wears a peaked cap and these dark glasses, and his HRV and his resting pulse have just been marvellous results just from implementing a couple of these biohacks. So walk with me, read my book, Impact 4Q. The first book was Dream Plan Do Be. Touch base with me, and I'm going to be consistently updating these biohacks. I think they're really important. They're really actionable. Pick 1 or 2 and try and nail them as consistently as you can, and just make a note of how you're feeling, how your mornings look, because I think if we nail this 22:30, this 10:30 to 12 a.m, we get that deep cycle sleep, we clean our brain, we will see a direct correlation between the decrease in anxiousness and depression in ourselves, in our children, and in our community. It's been great sharing my biohacks with you. I look forward to you choosing one or two, and that's all I do, choose one or two that would really work. The one I would take, my first pick would be lighting. It's so simple, it's so effective, and it is really, really effective with small children. Amazing. The second one, I would try desperately to nail that 2200, that 10 p.m, 10:30 p.m. at night, pre-midnight sleep, because that is going to make the most difference to your brain. I'm going to continue learning every day, every week, and update you with the latest data. I really look forward to working with you in the future. As you embark on this fascinating journey into the world of neuroscience and cutting-edge research, I want to ensure that we're on the same page, legally speaking. Firstly, it's essential to clarify that I'm not a qualified neuroscientist, licensed therapist or counsellor. My role is to present you with meticulously sourced information from neuroscientists from around the world, drawing down from their doctorate papers and university research. I've taken the liberty of translating the scientific knowledge into layman's terms and spiced it up with my own unique interpretive dance, because learning should be both fun and actionable. However, please bear in mind that the information and courses provided here are intended solely for educational and entertainment purposes. They are not a substitute for professional medical advice, and I strongly advise consulting qualified health professionals such as physicians, coaches, therapists, psychologists for your personalised guidance. Your well-being is of the utmost importance to me. Therefore, while I strive to deliver intriguing insights, remember that making significant life changes require thoughtful consideration and appropriate guidance. You're invited to venture forth with me on this journey of discovery and growth, armed with knowledge and understanding to enrich our lives in meaningful ways.